And, the weakness of the government's position is it's shown in the fact that the reason that we need this ID card and database keeps changing. We were told it was so that we could get library books and have benefit checks. Then it was going to be security. And then we had the Madrid bombing and we realised, in fact, Madrid had identity cards and it didn't
We're
stop
going to
that.
have to leave it there so that you can all get time for the last part of this debate, which is the closing statements from each of the political parties, their chance to make their pitch directly to the voters. And we start with the leader of the SNP, Alex Salmond.
We've had a fantastic debate and we've had great questions from George, from Helen, from Fraser, from many other people. I'm sort of concerned, however, that one of the big subjects we haven't touched on in this debate is the looming squeeze on public expenditure throughout the United Kingdom and particularly bearing down in Scotland. I think all three of these parties have an economic agenda which is not just going to cut the things that should be cut, like Trident missiles, ID card systems, the House of Lords and things like that, but is going to cut deep into the fabric of social and economic activity in this country. I believe in cutting the things that don't matter, so as we can concentrate on preserving the things that do matter. I believe in government efficiencies. We're abolishing a quarter of the quangos in Scotland, but I don't believe in cutting deep into public services that make life worth living. And therefore, I think the issue as this campaign reaches its climax is going to try and to provide an alternative to that miserable perspective of the London-based parties. I think that alternative is to, yes, have government efficiencies, junk the things that don't matter, but to get the economy growing, because the way to tackle a budget deficit is by getting an economy moving and bringing in the income from people who go back into employment. I think the campaign of the SNP for local champions for communities, observing and defending the rights of local communities, but also for national champions for Scotland, which we are going to badly need in that next Parliament, is the argument that's going to win through. I think the debate between Labour and Tory is a phony war. The real battle is for Scotland.
Alex Salmond, thank you. Next, for the Labour Party, Jim Murphy.
Well, thank you for all your questions and the interest in today's debate. Of course, the choice of this election is clear. It's either Gordon Brown or David Cameron as Prime Minister. And the choice for Scotland is clear as well, because we're at a crossroads. We can either continue away from this recession with Labour, or we can go back to the old divisions of the 1980s of the Tory party. 15% interest rates, mass unemployment, dreadful attacks on the shipbuilding and steelworks in the country. And who can ever forget the poll tax in Scotland? But there is a different way. It's about investing in our future. It is about creating the jobs of the future, 100,000 new high-skilled jobs in Scotland and industries that we can be proud of again. It's also about reducing the deficit fairly. We've been honest enough to talk about taxes. We'll use that new money to invest in the public services that you and your family value most. The NHS, the schools that are so important for the future of our nation, and our police that are so essential for your family's safety. But my final appeal is for you to vote. Whoever you support at this election, there are big choices and big decisions to be taken. So use your vote on May the 6th and go out and vote.
Thank you. Next for the Conservative Party, David Mundell.
Well, Jim Murphy doesn't need an Audi Quattro to take him back to the 1980s, because he lives there and he fights the battles of the past. This election is about the future. It's a British general election, and it's about deciding who will be our British government in London. It's about whether we have 5 more years of the same with Labour, or we have change which only the Conservatives can deliver. Now, Helen, with the issue about her son's employment, Fraser, petrol prices, these are the real issues which face people every day in Scotland. I believe the Conservative Party have the policies to deal with those issues and more, to secure the recovery, to ensure that the debt crisis created by Labour is tackled, that our society is built upon. But at the end of the day, the choice in this election is yours. Don't leave the choice to Alex Salmond or to the Liberal Democrats. Make the choice yourself. Vote either for the same or vote for change, which only the Conservatives can deliver. Be part of it.
Thank you. And finally, for the Liberal Democrats, Alistair Carmichael.
This has become one of the most exciting elections that Britain has seen in decades. And it's exciting because the old parties, Labour and the Conservatives, no longer have it all sewn up. In this election, it's not the parties who are in control, it's the people. And if you want change, if you want to do things differently, then you can vote for that. Now, you maybe gave your vote in the past to the Labour Party thinking that they would bring change, that they would make our country a fairer place. But after 13 years, Labour has let Scotland down. They allowed the banks to trash our economy. They've eroded our freedoms. And they sent our troops to fight and some to die in an illegal war in Iraq. They've let you down and they take Scotland for granted. But it doesn't have to be like that. You can vote to do things differently, to bring fairness to Britain. That is what the Liberal Democrats offer. And if that is what you want, then lend us your vote. And together, that is what we can achieve. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. And that concludes the third and final of the Sky News general election debates. We've been to Cardiff, we've been to Bristol, now we're here in Edinburgh. We'd like to thank everyone at the Hub here. We'd like to thank our audience and our questioners. But above all, we'd like to thank our four panellists today, Alex Salmon, Jim Murphy, David Mundell and Alistair Carmichael. And I now invite you all to shake hands.
Well, we'll shake on this side.